Hello my friends and welcome back to another tutorial. This week I'm going to paint something, it's a request for a very good friend of mine. Rob Carroll, this is a painting for you. You asked me could I paint this for you, so I'm going to paint it for you this week. I might make this a two-part tutorial because there's a lot of work in this. It's a bridge, I think it's near Fredericksburg. I'm not too sure now, but I'll look it up and I'll put it in the description. It's a bridge anyway with some gorgeous reflections. So I'm going to do a tutorial this week on getting perspective in a painting and getting that perspective in the reflections also. I have a picture sketched here. I think it's okay. I'm not 100% about the angle of the bridge. Let me show you and see what you think. Now, this is 20 by 16 canvas, okay? Let me just see if I can, that's better. I think you can kind of see it a bit better there now, yes? 2016 canvas, 20 by 16, and that's the picture. It's the very same as the reference photograph, but I think I might bring this horizon line down a little bit, maybe to here. So it's pretty much almost straight. As it is, and even with the reference photograph, it's very sort of up at an angle at this side. So I think to get proper perspective in a painting like this, I think that center line needs to be down just a little bit, about an inch, okay? Straight across like this. So that way we have a better angle coming in, okay? As I said, I copied the reference photograph with this, but I just think it's sort of a bit high on the left. So I might just bring it down a little bit here, just widen it slightly, if you know what I mean. So that's what I'm going to paint, 20 by 16. I wanted to show you something here that I'm working on. You see this big MDF board here? This is 4 foot by 2 foot, okay? It's a very big MDF. I'm doing a painting on this for someone. Now, it's going to be in a wide format, landscape format, okay? But I have it here because I'm priming it. I gave this 4 coats of primer. It's really nice and smooth, okay? It's 1/2 inch marine grade MDF, okay? Now, it's absolutely fine. I primed the front and the back, and the way I'm going to hang it is with this, okay? You can see it's a 2x1 frame. Let me move this over here, okay? So it's a 2x1 frame all the way around, all right? And what happens then is, I have another piece of timber here. Let me show you. I have this piece then. So this is the top, okay? You can see I have this cut in at an angle, a 45-degree angle. And then this piece is at 45 degrees as well, okay? So what happens is this piece here goes on the wall, all right? And then the painting slots into that. Like this, you see? It hooks on. Does that make sense? So there's a bit of play on either side just to allow for centering the painting on the wall. But that's what I'm going to do. I'll fix this piece to the wall and then the painting will hook onto it like this. And the painting then will be sticking out an inch, which is the thickness of this here. The painting will be sticking out from the wall, so it'll look like the painting is floating out from the wall, okay, with no support. So I'm going to be doing a big landscape of that. I might do it on Facebook, do maybe a ½ hour each day or something like that, because it's a big painting and it's of Shandon Bells, a very misty kind of a scene on Shandon Bells here in Cork. So that's going to be fun. That's definitely one for tutorial, I think. So let me pop that there for a moment. So there we go. I am painting this bridge with reflections today for you, and we'll try and get some really nice reflections on this. All right, so there we are, my friends. Let me turn this around. Thank you so much. I'll be right back. If you want to learn about reflections and getting some really nice reflections, try this with me. Let's see how it works. I'm going to go for nice realistic reflections like I did with my boats tutorial. So nice proper reflections, okay? But we'll try and simplify it as well at the same time, if you know what I mean. But just really getting some like detail on those reflections. Grab your stuff, and if you want to follow me along, you can. But just if you just want to watch, you might get some hints and tips from it, and we'll have a bit of fun along the way, okay? A bit of a crack, a bit of a joke. So let's go and start this painting. Don't go anywhere. Okay, here we go. Right, I'll tell you what colours I have. A nice full rich palette today. Titanium white, Naples yellow, cadmium yellow, a little phaylo blue, burnt sienna, burnt umber, lamp black, cadmium red and crimson. I also have a little turpentine with some linseed oil in that. I have some tissue paper, and I have my brushes. Lots of different types of brushes, mostly flats, okay? You know the drill, you know me by now. Okay, there's the photograph. Now, here we go. Isn't this lovely? Very nice, rich reflections. I'm going to keep most of the scene simple, but I want to focus on these nice, rich reflections, okay? And we have some lovely light in that archway as well. Now, what I was saying earlier about the perspective, I think when the photograph was being taken, it might have been slightly to one side. So I think if I maybe even leveled out the horizon line just slightly, it might make a bit of a difference, okay? Just a slight difference. It's not bad as it is. Look, we'll see how we go. Okay, let's take a large brush, and I'm going to keep it simple. Nice simple sky, okay? I'll dampen my brush, and I'm going to take a tiny amount of phthalo blue, lots of titanium white, and I want to keep it warm, so a hint of crimson, okay? Slight hint. Just to get a nice warm blue up there. I did prime my canvas once, alright? Just primed it one time, so it's nice and soft. It's not overly primed. A little more pink, a little more white, and it's going to get sort of a softer colour just as it goes off into the distance there, okay? Slightly softer. More white into that, and then we take that away off down into the distance. I did all this drawing freehand, alright? If you're having trouble with drawing like this, especially arches under bridges, a good idea is to maybe use a roll of duct tape or something, okay, like that. Or you could use the lid off a pot, or a lid off a frying pan or something like that, okay? You know, anything circular, just to get yourself around in a good circle. I like to kind of try freestyle drawing. I don't like to kind of use, you know, I know a lot of people use projectors and all that kind of thing. I just think it's more natural when you try to do it freehand. It's more natural. And the painting looks more natural as well. Right, there's that colour done. Okay, finished with that. I'm going to take another smaller brush and just pop in some clouds. Nice, simple little clouds. Now, nice dry brush, little white, and let's go up, let's go here, let's find a nice cloud up here. And I'm keeping it simple, so I'm just popping in a couple of very loose clouds, okay? I don't want to copy this reference photograph exactly. I don't like to copy reference photographs, you know, perfectly. I like to just put my own little colours in here and there and just have a bit of fun, because it's not very much fun if you're trying to copy every single detail in a photograph. I like to kind of create my own impression of the subject sometimes, you know, and it's a lot more fun, and I think sometimes it works out much better. Okay, a little bit more white down there, a couple of small clouds off in the distance. I'm going to lighten all that colour way off in the distance down there, just to give it more depth. Okay, here we are. Nice and simple. Nothing too complicated, all right? A little bit of pink, I'm going to add a little bit of pink, a tiny bit of blue. And I'm really using tiny amounts of paint in this, all right? A little bit of cadmium red even, look. I want to just warm this side over here, just ever so slightly. There's a nice hint of pink over there, isn't there? Okay, and I bring some of that pink down under this as well. Now, I think that's all I need to do. I'm going to soften this slightly with my soft brush. Just make it nice and soft. The focus of this painting is the bridge with those reflections, okay? You know, try not to go over the board with clouds and all that kind of stuff. Okay, I'm going to wash this brush, just dip it in, give it a good rub on some tissue. I'm going to clean this brush and I'm going to use this for the tree line, all right? I'm going to go with a nice rich green. So let's take some phaylo blue, some lamp black, and some cadmium yellow. Plenty of cadmium yellow, look. Take plenty of that, don't be shy. I don't want a completely thick paint, so I'll take a touch of thinners in this, just a touch. And there's lots of warm colours. This is what I call a warm painting. So to get nice warm tones, just add some burnt umber into your green, okay? That will give you a nice warm colour. A bit more yellow. If you want to go warmer, you can take a hint of sienna. Okay, that will make it very warm for you. Let me just check this. Okay, that's not bad. I think I'll go with that. So I'm going to go in here now and fill this in under those arches. I love the arches in this. Lovely. It gives a lovely depth to the painting, doesn't it? These lovely rich arches. Okay, I'm warming it slightly with some sienna because I don't want to go cold with this painting. Okay, I want this nice and warm. So I'm going now more towards a browny green, greeny brown, let's say. I'm just going to fill that in very loosely, very loose. I'm being very loose with all my work, okay? Very loose indeed. And I just want to form the arches here just a little bit better. Okay, and then we have that tree line going off into the distance. Okay, like so. And then let's just put a nice suggestion of the treetops. So burnt umber, a little yellow, and a hint of black, okay? Nice dark kind of an olive green. They get smaller and smaller as they go off into the distance. And that helps with the perspective, okay? It gives you a wonderful perspective. So I'm just being very loose. Look, just nice and loose like that. Off we go. And I'm going to start adding a few darks into this green. I'm going to take some lamp black, cadmium yellow, and that will give you a nice rich dark green, particularly by the arches where the arches are light. You see the very bright yellows of those arches? Well, if we put a nice dark green, a rich green, just beside those, it's really going to show off those arches later when we come to do the arches. That's I find the trick with oil painting dark to light and light to dark, getting really nice dark colours. So if you have a light against the dark, make sure your dark is nice and strong and rich. So here, for example, look, I'll put a nice dark one in there, a nice dark one there. I might take a hint of phthalo blue with the black, and that will really help your darks, give it a bit more punch, okay? Again, over here, and let it soften out. And I'm going to just go along the base as well, just a little bit with some dark, okay? Just here and there. I don't want to overpower the painting with too much dark, so I'm being careful, very careful. I'll take a little hint of the blue. I put a little hint of that blue there. Just a little. A bit in there. Now I'll sit back, take a quick look every now and then, just sit back, okay? That's good, I'm happy with that. The next step now that I'm going to do is, I might even use this brush. I'm going to clean this brush, just dip it in there and give it a good rub on some tissue. I'm going to use this brush now for my lights as well, okay? I do have a medium stubby brush as well. I have another one here. Medium stubby is not bad either. I think I'll just stick with the one I'm using because it seems to work. Excuse me. So I'm going to just get rid of most of the dark colour out of that brush, okay? It's not spotless, but it's fine. Let's take some cadmium yellow, little Naples yellow, and I'll take a tiny amount of phaylo blue. Then I'm going to go with some white. Okay, and just add varying amounts of those until you get the colour that you feel is right for you. I think that's good. I'm happy with that. Okay, so load up the tip of your brush and let's see what we can do with this. I'm going to start, I'll start in the distance. I'm going to just start adding little hints of light to the trees here and there. I'm presuming, looking at the photograph, I'm presuming the light is coming from the left hand side. So I'm going to put the light of the trees on the left hand side, okay? Like this, coming down like that, okay? And then it's kind of softening into the darkness, you see? Now wipe the brush each time you do this. I'm going to go again, and again down there. I'm just keeping this kind of loose. I'm just creating some nice bushy little trees off in the distance. I'm not being too fussy with them. You can, if you like, if you want to be really fussy, go and, you know, try and paint them all individual. You can do that, of course. It's completely up to you. But I'm just going to keep it nice and sort of simple like this for now. And I can always go back then and add more later if I wish. Okay, I'm just getting the general sense of a bushy area, you see. Now I'll take a little bit more yellow on its own, a little bit more yellow like that, and suggest one or two catching in here. Now I'm going to move to a slightly smaller brush. I mean, that's not bad, you'll get away with that just as distant trees, but I'm going to go a little bit further, okay? I'm going to take another smaller brush. Let me find a nice small brush now first. Let me have a look. So much to choose from. That's the great thing about painting. So much to choose from. Let me see now. I'll try this one here. Okay. It's slightly splayed out. I'll dampen it and dry it just to soften the bristles a little. Okay. But let's try this. I'm going to go with some cadmium yellow, a little touch of phaylo blue, a little bit more yellow. I want to go for a nice bright luminous green. You see, just to catch, well, some of the light is catching on the outsides of those trees. You see what I mean? So let's try it again. Let's go on the outside and just dab a little bit of that. Okay, let's go over here and try some of that there, creating some form, some kind of shape on the trees. Okay, I'm just using now cadmium yellow on its own, and I go over here. Let's try a few like that. I'm kind of sort of using the edge of the brush. You probably see a lot of artists use this technique. It's just simply using the edge of a very worn brush, and that's forming the light then catching the trees. Okay, now it's kind of starting to take shape, isn't it? And I'll go down here and I'll pop a nice bright piece just in down here. You see, even though I'm using just cadmium yellow. When it's on the trees, it doesn't, your brain doesn't think it's cadmium yellow. It looks like a green, doesn't it? It's just a very bright yellow that I'm using on the very edges. Just with the tip of my brush, look. Very bright yellow, but it's mixing slightly with the colour underneath. So it appears as if it's like a very bright green, but it's just a yellow, that's all. A little bit up here and there, just to make it sort of not too uniform, but just to show there's a lot of light hitting the trees. Now I'm happy enough with that. I'm going to leave it as it is. That's fine. I want to keep them nice and dark as well, just by the arches, okay? Because I don't want to spoil the arches. I'm going to move on and do this bridge, all right? And I might just leave the reflections then for part 2. But let's just see how we go. Now, I'm finished with my greens, so I'm going to give my brush a good clean, and I'm also going to change my turpentine, okay? I'm just going to leave this soak onto some tissue. It's not that bad actually, okay? But I'd still, look, I'm getting rid of this tissue, getting some fresh, nice clean tissue, and a little drop fresh turpentine. And let's get ready now to paint this lovely bridge. And when I'm painting the bridge, what I tend to do is, now I know a lot of people will paint every little dark and light individually, but what I like to do, and it's a nice technique for you to try as well, you should definitely try it. I paint the entire dark area just in one dark colour, alright? I'm going to use a brush now that was given to me as a gift. Rosemary & Co. I'm going to use this beautiful soft flat brush. Janelle gave me these. Thank you so much, Janelle. I love the brushes. They're fantastic. Nice and soft. A nice soft flat. I'm going to paint all this dark. Then I'm going to paint the bright lines in between. Does that make sense? That's the way I do it. A lot of people would even maybe draw all the individual little squares, paint them dark and paint the whites or the brights separately. I'm going to do it this way with just darks. I'm going to start with burnt umber. Let's try it and see. It's going to be wet into wet. But look, we'll just try it and see how we get on. Some burnt umber, some black. I don't want to make this too black, if you know what I mean. I want to go for more of a dark kind of a warm grey. So burnt umber with black, and then a hint of Naples yellow. And the Naples yellow will make that nice and sort of opaque. Because Naples yellow has the same consistency as white. It's nice and thick and pasty. So that will make your colour nice and opaque. So you see now, I have a nice dark, warm kind of grey. That's exactly what I want. I'm going to paint all my dark area with this. Okay, I'm going over all my lines. All right. If you find it easier to paint the shapes individually, okay, just do it that way. Then just paint the shapes individually, whatever makes it easier for you, all right? I'm just showing you how I would paint something like this, because it would take you a very long time to go around painting all these individual little squares and lines and triangles and all that kind of stuff. It would take you forever. So I just go along like this, okay? Take a little bit more black there. Just go along and paint the entire thing that dark colour. So let's just fill all of this in now. Come on, let's get really cracking on this. I'll try and keep it as oval as I can, that circle, try and keep it as circular as I can, rather. Let's go up here with this. Really fantastic brushes, I must say. Rosemary & Co. Lovely. I love these soft brushes, they're fantastic. I'm so happy with these. Wonderful brushes, I must say. Now let's go and keep going with these all the way along. Fill all this in. Okay, just loosely. Doesn't have to be perfect. You see, at the very end then, you see, I will be refining my shadows and all my darks. I'll be refining them all anyway, adding little lights and little darks here and there. This is really just, you know, an undercoat, let's call it, a base layer, or as they might say, a blocking in phase. Yes, I'm just blocking in my entire bridge with this colour, and this just helps speed up the process. That's all. I will just leave a little line there so I know where the edge of the bridge is, because the edge of that bridge is white, well, not white, but a bright colour. And what I really love about this painting is the nice warm colours in those arches, that real sunlit colour. It's fantastic, isn't it? It's going to be fun trying to achieve that. It will take a bit of work, but don't worry, we'll get there. We'll work on it together. So here we are. I've all this done. Would you be happy enough with that? I'd be happy enough with that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is start adding a few darks here and there. So with the same brush, look, I'm just going to take some black and I'm just going to sort of pull a little black down here and there, so that afterwards, when I put in my lights, my bright lines, I'll already have this wonderful colour behind in some of the shadows. There'll be some bright ones, there'll be some dark ones. It'll really help make it look that bit more natural, okay? Because I don't want every single dark area to be exactly the same colour. Some will be darker, some will be lighter. And I'm going vertical with these strokes, okay? I'm not going kind of at an angle, I'm going completely vertical. So let me show you, say for example here, I'm going to come straight down with one there, look. So now I have a nice mix of colours on that. I don't know if you can see that or not. It probably looks just like a dark colour, but I have a slight hints of black going through. So that's my dark done. Now I just want to go to the very tip of the bridge, the very top up here, and bring it up a little, because that dark colour does go right up to the top, doesn't it? This will act as my line then, you see, for the top. This will be my guide. And don't worry if it's not perfectly straight. It doesn't have to be straight as an arrow, okay? It's a painting. It's supposed to be, you know, a painting. There we are. All right, I'm happy enough with that. Now I have a little bit of something in my sky. It's like a piece of plastic or something. There we go. Now, there we go. The next thing I might do is start working on some of the lighter lines in between. Yes? So I'm going to put this brush down. I'll just give it a quick clean. Put that down. And I need to find a nice brush then for that kind of work. A nice, not a very, very pointy brush, because that's more of a detail brush, isn't it? Let me see, have I got something nice? Ah, I have a nice one here. A nice little round. There's a little paint on it, but it's fine. It'll work. Okay. Let me dampen that. And I'm looking at the colour. I'm going to go for a slight kind of a mauve, I think. A warm mauve. I can see it's a kind of a warm mauve. It looks like a cream. It's a kind of a sandy colour in reality. But because it's in shade, it will be a warm kind of a sandy mauve colour. Will we try and make that colour? Let's try some. I'm going to mix a good bit of this now. Let's try some crimson with some turpentine, a little blue, Okay, and this will take a couple of minutes to get this mix just right. Okay, some of that. So it's kind of quite purpley now at the moment. I'll take some more crimson, and I'm going to take a hint of Naples yellow into that. All right, now we're not finished yet. Okay, that's more of a plum, isn't it? Let's try a little cadmium red. And then I'm going to take a hint of sienna. Okay, I'm going to try a hint of sienna. That's going to really warm it up, isn't it? Then I'm going to take some more Naples yellow. Keep going then, you know, just keep adding colours until you feel you've achieved what you want. You know, sometimes it's trial and error. I take a hint of burnt umber, just to tone it down slightly. Okay, and let's try a hint of white. And because I wanted to make it look like that nice sandy colour, try some more Naples yellow and a hint of sienna. That'll give you that kind of sandy tone, but it's still almost, it's like a shadowy sandy colour. That's not far off, no, that's actually pretty nice. I like that. I'm going to start by going around the edge of these, okay? I'll just put it on first and let's just take a look and see what we think. Okay. I'm thinking slightly brighter. More Naples yellow. A little more turpentine. And this is the tricky part, just getting this colour now just right, okay? I'll put lots more Naples yellow into this. And we can adjust all of this as we go, okay? Let's just clean my brush, take more Naples yellow, okay? It needs to be brighter. And of course, it's mixing with the colour underneath as well. So that's something that we have to bear in mind. Right, let's just go with that for now. Let's move on to the next one over here. And the other thing I will say to you is, I wouldn't try to make the lines very definite. Okay, so if it mixes into the background colour ever so slightly, that is absolutely fine. In fact, you'll hear me say it all the time with my paintings. If you pick up some of that background colour, that's great. Because that ties all of the colours together on your canvas, okay? So don't be worried if you're picking up some colours behind and you think, no, it's just not working or whatever. You know, that's fine, don't worry. Because that brings the painting together. You have another one down here. And remember, this is just the initial stage of the lights, okay? I'll be darkening some of them later, I'll be lightening some of them. So don't worry, this is not the final colour. Just go up there like that, okay? Now, next I'm going to go across. Will I go across the top? No, I won't. What I'll do is start doing some of my uprights. So let me get some more Naples yellow. Okay. And you see, I know it looks like a kind of a pinky colour, but it's not. It's actually a soft, stony kind of a colour. And I can add some colours to this then in a moment. So let's start with this colour for now. So I'm going to start with these uprights here. So the two, pick a point and start with the two centre ones here, look. Pull that down. And you can see how it's kind of mixing into the background ever so slightly. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. I like when that happens. Some people don't, but I quite like it, to be quite honest. I kind of like when that happens, because it makes the painting feel a lot more natural. Okay. Another one here. All right, there we go. Then I'll go down and do these two down here. These are slightly smaller, so I'll make more of a point on my brush. You can use a smaller one if you like. So you see, they're not perfect. They're not perfectly straight, and they're not perfectly uniform. That's the whole point of a painting being a painting, you see. Alright, now I'll start with the centre one here and work my way out, okay? And again, I'm just trying to get them roughly equal distances apart, but they don't have to be perfect. I have room here for two more, I would reckon. Ah, there we are. Lovely. Now, a little bit more Naples yellow. Just mix another little touch of paint. And I'll go on the other side. Let me just start with this one. Go with another one here. And another one here. Alright. And I'll just pop a couple down there like that. And let's start putting a few in here. And they're going to get slightly thicker and wider apart as they come closer to us. Okay? Just slightly. Okay, let's get another one here. And we go up to the center of the bridge roughly. And another one here. They do get darker as they come in. I'm going to take a hint of burnt umber, a hint of crimson, a hint of black perhaps. They do get slightly darker, alright? They do almost disappear into the shadows, but not quite. You see, they do still show. I'll take then, right, I'm going to clean my brush now, and what I'm going to do is, I'll take a little blue, a little white, and a little crimson. And I want this warm, okay, so plenty of crimson in this, like a deep bluey purpley kind of a colour. I'm going to pop some of that. Let me take a hint of white now in this. I'm going to pop some of this deep colour on some of these. Just one or two as they come out, okay? Now some crimson with some white. We just warm it slightly. And then go around this one here to refine some of that. So what I'm doing is, I'm just creating a kind of a certain luminosity in the darker side, okay? With some mauve. Some nice warm mauve with a hint of white. And then I'm going to bring that colour around, and it's disappearing then into the colour that's already there, you see? Now you could probably mix your own colours doing this. You probably have your own ways of mixing. But this gives us a nice, just a nice colour, okay? Now I'm going to go along the top of my, let me take some of that mauve, mix a little bit of that mauve in with my colour, and I'm going to go across the top. Let me just refine some of those, okay? So I'm going to go across the top of this then. And just cut across all of those. And you can see I'm not trying to be absolutely perfect with this, okay? I'm just allowing it to flow from the brush. Even if it's not perfectly straight, I don't mind. Because I find a lot of people when painting subjects like this, they find, find everything has to be absolutely perfectly straight and square and symmetrical, but it doesn't really. Not for me anyhow. I like to just be nice and free with my work. Okay, now I'm going to start lightening this now, okay? I'm going to just start getting some brighter colours on my brush and start lightening some of these. So what we have is, I don't know if you can see the reference photograph, but the fronts of these are bright and it sort of softens into the sides. You see? It kind of softens into the darks. So it dissipates very slowly. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to take this colour, okay, and I'm going to soften this into the darks. In fact, I'll take some fresh colour. I'll take some Naples yellow, mix it in down there, and I'm going to start softening this back into the darker colours. So we're now getting a gradual colour going from light into dark. I'm just softening the left hand sides of those lines that I just painted. Okay, these uprights. I'm softening them back in. There's a reason for this, I'll show you in a moment. So it's a work in progress, okay? We're tipping away at this now, nice and slowly. And there's a couple just down at the end as well. They don't show so much down at the distance down here. And then what I'm going to do is take some black, some rich black, okay? Now I'm going to really go in with some dark. I'm going to really define some of my darks. Look, go right in there. And I'm going to soften this black outwards then towards that softer colour, you see? I'm not going right out to the edge. Now I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's starting to look like it has a depth going in between. Does that make sense? Let me show you here. Come right down now, I'm cutting, making a nice new line, and then I'm softening it across like that. And that just gives you sort of a depth going in. So it kind of brings everything to life, doesn't it? Now as it comes across to the front, it's almost just entirely black, isn't it? Don't worry if you go over some of your lines. We're going to straighten all of these lines and refine them all again in a moment, okay? Nice and dark, okay, nice and dark. I don't know now if you can see this okay on camera, because there may be a kind of a sheen from the lights on the canvas. I hope you can, so forgive me if you can't see what I'm doing properly. And another one here. Okay, again, I'll sit back, take a look. All right, it's not bad. Now I will lighten all of those lights, don't worry, I will lighten those. They still need to be much brighter, I know that. But I'm building it up slightly, okay? I don't want to go right in there with a very bright colour earlier on. This way makes it much easier to gauge the colours and, you know, get them just right. Well, to the point where you're happy with them anyway. I find this way much easier, building them up slowly. And a nice dark in there between those. Okay, we go with that. Then I'm going to take my little round brush, give it a clean, get some nice black on that, and go up here. Little bit of dark, and just leave it soften out. Okay, right. I'm going to go back now and make a lighter colour. All right, and go over some. I'm going to go over some of these. I'm going to take some Naples yellow, little burnt sienna, and a little burnt umber. Okay, and I'm just going to change the amounts that I need to make a nicer, brighter, warmer shade of what we have there. I'm going to take a hint of crimson as well, because I want to stick with the pink hue that we have on the painting. I want to stick with that. That's a nice colour. So I want to keep it warm. Let's take plenty of turpentine in this. So you can see now, Rob, there's a lot of work in this. It's definitely a two-part tutorial. Now let me try this colour for a change. I'll start with the centre ones here. Okay, not bad. We'll try this one here. Okay, not bad either. And I keep cleaning my brush as well to keep it nice and bright and fresh. All right. Let me go to this one here. See, I'm cutting down in front of this archway all the time, all right? Like that. Another two here. Okay, and you see we can then go and do details with the small brush later. I just want to focus on getting the brighter shades, the slightly brighter shades in. Now I'm going to go across the top here again. Okay, clean the brush because it's picking up the dirty colour, you see. So give the brush a little clean every now and then and pick up some fresh colour. And I'm going to show you something then after this is finished. I'll just bring that lighter colour just up there slightly. Then I'll add a little bit of that colour to some of these, because they need to be refined slightly, don't they? Even though they're in the shadows, they still need to be refined a little. Okay, now right, we're not doing too badly. What I want to do is, with my small pointy brush, I'm going to take some black and I'm going to return, because you can see the ceilings of some of these, you can see in underneath, you can see the roof of them. So I am going to bring a line like this, okay? So now it looks as if you can see up underneath. Okay, so it's starting to look more kind of 3D, more lifelike. Okay, I won't go all the way, but some of these do have this nice rich dark line, okay? And I leave it just like that. Now I'm going to go back to my brighter brush and go around those archways again. Take some crimson, some Naples yellow. That's not a bad colour. And I'm going to go around these arches again. Bring those shapes back into play. Alright. There we go. That's number one. Let's do number two. Alright. Now this actually cuts across here, doesn't it? This brighter colour. Alright, there we go. So we're getting there now. You see, we have kind of the basics done. There is a lot of rough kind of colour on some of those. So I'm going to pop, what I'm going to do is take some white, little blue, and a hint of crimson. Alright, and I'm going to just pop some very bright colour, bright, sort of a highlight, catching some of those uprights just here and there. Alright, I'll show you what I mean. So just here and there, it's sort of a very old bridge, so the stone is kind of breaking apart here and there. Does that make sense? So I just want to pop a few highlights. Just like that, you see what I mean? Just to break it up slightly. That's just to suggest sunlight catching some of the stonework here and there. And you can even use a pointy brush for this as well. Get some real bright colour. Let's take some Naples yellow and pop a little, let's go and pop a little around there and there. Just you see, just kind of have a bit of fun with it. Just mess around with it, have some fun. And it just adds a bit of interest to it, doesn't it? Now also, I do see two little squares up on top as well, right in the centre here. Don't know what they are, just part of the structure, I presume. Let's just put them in. And we have another one down. They're actually in shadow, so I need to darken them slightly. The fronts are in the bright, so they turn like this. Then the dark sides are in shadow. Let's get some burnt umber with a little black. Just darken backs of those. Okay. Have to take a bit of black. Let's just darken them ever so slightly more. So that it kind of almost disappear into that dark underneath. Now, that's better, isn't it? Much better. Okay. So we're coming on. Now, there's a bit of light showing through some of that one there, okay? So I want to suggest a little bit of sunlight coming through that one, a little bit of blue sky. Ordinarily, I would wait until it's dry, okay? And it probably will, to be quite honest. I'll just wait until it's dry. That might be the best thing to do, because I'm going to end up just fighting with this now for hours and hours and hours. So I'll just leave it, I think. Perhaps it might have been better even just left as it was. Let me cover it back in and see. Yeah, let's just leave it as it was for now. And we can come back when this is all dry and put in some blue sky in there, okay? I'm going to put in this nice bright section. I'm looking forward to doing this nice bright section. Let me get a brush for this. And this will really make this painting pop and jump right out. I'm going to take another soft flat brush. Okay, and what I'm going to do is take some more turpentine, because this has gone very dirty, this turpentine. Add a drop in there. Now, nice rich colour, bright colour. Let's go. Let's take some Naples yellow, lots of it. A hint of cadmium yellow. And a hint of burnt sienna. Now let's try that. Okay, let's put it in first like this, just with this colour. So, I have that done. I'm going to put in my base as well. Just very loosely, look, it doesn't have to be perfect at all. Okay. Then the base warms as it turns around the corner, doesn't it? Gets much warmer. Take some sienna and some burnt umber. I'm just going to do it in this sort of a fashion. Okay, just pulling the brush down. And it warms slightly out into the brighter colour. Also, I'm going to do the very same up here. So as this bright colour comes up, it's going to darken, alright? So adding sienna and burnt umber into it, and softening it down, but following the curve of the arch, alright? And then when it goes right up, then it goes almost really into blacky brown kind of colours. Okay, I'll just be careful and go around the arch nice and sharply. And then I'm going to pull that colour down into the yellow, you see. Soften that colour nice and gently. So you can see now it's going from a nice bright into a dark, and then it goes right into black, doesn't it? Let's pick up some burnt umber with some black. I'll take just some black then on its own up here. And then leave it soften out. How about that? Isn't that nice? I like that, I must say. So now I'm going to take some sienna with some black, okay? And I'm going to suggest the light kind of catching, coming and going here and there, look. You see? Then we have a very dark line in the centre of that. Isn't that right? It's not black, I'm not going to go with black, I'll go with burnt umber. And it just sort of goes up and it disappears into that dark colour, doesn't it? I'll go with burnt umber. And make it nice and thick. Okay. See? Now I'll take some of my small detail brush and let's just refine some of this. Okay, so we have a line there, we have another line underneath here. And it turns. It does get quite dark back here, doesn't it? I'm going to just first darken this all the way, look, slightly. Perhaps even with a hint of black as well. So it's coming from a dark colour out to a bright colour. And then I'm going to suggest some of the little lines, little shadows under some of the stones. And then I'm going to suggest a slightly lighter kind of a cap catching the light here. So it's fun putting in all of these little lights, catching the sun. It's real great fun. A little bit of a curve there and there. Okay, you know, it's simple, but it works. I'm going to do it the same with the second art, and I think I'll call it part 1 finished. Alright? It's nice and simple, it's relaxing. We're just, you know, a bunch of friends having a bit of fun with some brushes. Isn't that right? We're just having a little bit of fun. Okay, let's try again. Let's get some Naples yellow, little hint of sienna. And even just with those two colours, yeah, that's not bad. Now I did one completely on its own, okay? You could just do the two lights and then do the two darks. Do you understand? So that they're both exactly the same colour. Okay, like that. There we go. Let's take some Naples yellow. I'm going to just brighten this side. And of course you can use like a fine brush for this if you like. Okay. You know, these pieces over here are just really suggestions, that's all. Let's take some sienna with some of the Naples yellow. Soften some of that in up here. And I'll show you then in a minute, I'm going to create some very rich bright light catching these arches, okay? Some rich kind of sunlight. I'm going to try and get that impression in a moment. I'll take some burnt sienna and burnt umber I'll go in here with that dark colour. And again, soften it out. Then just black on its own. Soften it down. Like a feather. Okay? Just like a little feather. And I'm going to use my small round brush then for that dark in the middle down there, just so I have a little bit more control, that's all. So let's go with this nice burnt umber. Like that. Take a little black as it comes up. Okay. Then I'll darken this one as well. Soften it down, like so. And what I'm going to do then is, right, this is something that I love doing. It's called tinting. Well, I don't know if that's a proper term for it, but I like to call it tinting. So what I'm going to do is take just a little flat brush, right? And I'm going to get some very bright colour. I'm going to take some cadmium yellow with some Naples yellow and a tiny hint of cadmium red, alright? Now I need more cadmium yellow because that's just not enough. Because I really want the sun bouncing off of these arches, yes? That's what we want, isn't it? I'm going to take this very rich bright colour and I'm just going to put a tiny hint of it, you see, just here and there on the arch, just to really show the sun really bouncing off of the arch. Then I'm going to go a step further, clean my brush, I'm going to take some Naples yellow with white. Okay. And I'm going to put some of that down here as well. So that's a really bright colour then. That just really gives you the effect of the sun, really rich colour of the sun bouncing off the arches. Okay? Because that for me is what makes the painting, that very bright rich colour under those arches. That's what the painting is for me, those bright colours, okay? Now I'm just going to finish around here with some warm sienna and burnt umber. And then I'm going to finish some of the lines under here. So you see, I'm not painting too much detail in this. It's all pretty much like a suggestion of, you know, what's in there. It's just a suggestion. Put a little bit of a light just catching in here. A little bit catching there. See, I go back later then, I put in all my, you know, where the bright lights are catching and some of the darks. I'll go in later and I'll pop in lots of those then with my little detail brush, you see. I'll go back and refine all those little things. Use some Naples yellow across the front of this here. So this is coming on quite nice. Anyway, I'm going to call this part 1 finished. I hope you don't mind. It's coming on really nice, isn't it? I might just put a suggestion of a dark just across the bottom of that tree line there, okay? There is a bit of a dark there anyway, but just to sort of finish it off, and go in here and finish this just as well. and soften it up then, you see. Just finish off the river bank. Just a little bit more, that's all. Just to finish it off. Give it somewhere to sit. Now that's fine, that's okay for now. We have a little bar, we have some railings across the very top of that. I'm going to take some very thin black and I'm going to stand for this, I hope you don't mind. And I may even get my stick, my trusty little stick. I'm just going to suggest, doesn't have to be straight. A little bit of a railing. Then just one or two little uprights. You see? You know, nothing too fancy. Just a nice simple little impression. That's all it is, little impression. Okay? Now I'm just kind of looking around now and just looking to where I can brighten some little bits and pieces here and there. Look, just like that. You go over some of that yellow, just tone that down slightly. Yeah, maybe a little bit too over the top. If you think it's over the top, just tone it down slightly. I'm pretty happy with all of this. I might add some of this warm chalky colour. Let me just, a little bit up there. There's some light kind of shining through under the arch. Under there. Might put a little bit of it here and there on the front of those. So you see, you can sharpen things up then as you go. Just to warm it up slightly. I put a little hint of that yellow just up here because they're catching the sun as well. Okay, and I might lighten that pillar. So you see, you can go around and just add little bits yourself as you're going along. But look, in general, I'm happy enough with that, alright? I'm fairly happy with that. A little bit of dark down some of these. Just to straighten some of the lines, that's all. And I think I will call this part 1 finished, my friends. I hope you don't mind. Rob, thank you so much for this reference photograph, it's fantastic. Add a little bit of roughness to some of these arches, look. Tiny little, couple of little lines. It's nothing in particular, it's just to add a little bit of roughness to them, that's all. Alright? And that is part 1 finished, my friends. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me zoom in now so you can see what I meant by that pinky colour. It really gives you a nice kind of shade. It gives you a lovely effect of the sandstone colour being in the shade. So if you're painting like a sandy coloured wall, make a nice warm pinky mauve for the shadow. It really works. And you can add hints of burnt umber into it then as well, you see? Isn't that lovely? I'm very happy with that now. Part 1 finished, my friends. Let me turn the camera. I have just enough power, I would say, to say goodbye. Not very bright, I'll have to brighten this. And thank you so much for watching. I'll be right back with part 2, maybe tomorrow morning or something like that. But stay tuned, I think this is going to be a stunner of a painting. A stunning painting. So I'm happy enough so far. I hope you liked it. Subscribe. I'll be back very soon with part 2. Thank you again so much for watching, and thank you to all my patrons for your support. You've been so kind. Thank you so much. I'll see you again. God bless and happy painting.